so today we are at a project that just was completed. I did the design for this a few months ago. And so this is the first day I'm actually seeing everything finished, and I'm super excited about it. It was just a little update of the kitchen. So this meeting with this client started as a paint consultation. So she came in to help pick paint colors and then sort of offhand mentioned that someday she wanted to tackle the kitchen. And then we decided that if she was going to someday tackle the kitchen, since this is all sort of an open concept home, we should probably figure out what was going on with those colors before we slapped colors on the rest of the house. So what turned into what started as a paint consultation turned into kitchen design. So we had two options. One was to work with the existing countertops. One was to get rid of the existing countertops. So I drew up two separate designs for that. She ended up deciding to stay with the original countertops, which were a Baltic Brown Granite. Baltic Brown Granite you see in a lot of houses that were built in the 90s, and a lot of people are struggling with how to work with that since it's got a ton of brown in it, and sort of what's on trend right now is gray tones. So come on in, I'll show you what we sort of did to work with the Baltic Brown. So we ended up going this sort of light gray on the walls. This was a Benjamin Moore, can you tell me what it was again? Pewter? Revere pewter, that's right. So this is the Baltic Brown countertop. So you have two options when you're working with this. You can either work with it or go high contrast. And since we wanted to go modern and really brighten up the space, we decided to go high contrast and paint everything a very subtle sort of off-white shade. We were gonna go with the Benjamin Moore cloud cover, but we ended up going with, Jen, what was it? Do you remember? Some sort of ultra white, doesn't really matter. Some sort of white countertop, but just sort of a creamy toned white that had a little bit of warmth in it to sort of bounce off the brown. So she had these really dark floors, and we talked about maybe going black on this, but then with the floors being so dark, it just seemed like these ceilings are a lot lower in here than they are in the rest of the house, and in order to expand the space and make it feel a lot lighter, we just decided to go completely bright with a simple subway tile. She had some can lighting that was happening here that wasn't centered with the island, and that's one thing you can do for a ton of impact when you're wanting to update a kitchen space, is to add some really big noticeable pendant lights. And so again, going back to this granite, which was the sort of start of the entire design, there's a lot of black happening with this, and I wanted to pull that black from the granite into the fixtures and into the knob pulls and kind of give it this sort of 18th century English vibe. So we have these sort of lantern pendant lights and the brushed bronze and then the brushed bronze drawer pulls. So that gives little pops of contrast against the white, so the white isn't too overwhelming. And then the other thing we ended up doing sort of as a last minute thing is my contractor Marco, there used to be a microwave here, and he ended up taking that out and putting a vent hood instead. And it was originally just a white piece, and we were thinking of putting a shelf up here, but it was feeling very white across here, and I really wanted to bring some warmth into this. So he custom built a walnut range hood over it. Originally, I had one, I can't remember the name of the company, but we found one that was like a bronze custom range hood that was sort of medieval looking and awesome. Turns out I like to find things that cost $6,000 or more, so we decided to not go that route and went with this instead, and it ended up being like a pretty cost-effective, really beautiful option and way to break up all of this white cabinetry. And then Marco built these floating shelves before there was an upper cabinet there, and that sort of helps open the space up a lot too. So if you are living with Baltic Brown countertops and you're wanting to know what to do with them, I highly suggest going white and bright all around them and exploiting the contrast as opposed to trying to figure out a way to work with the brown if you want to come into the gray world in which we live these days. So this is the updated kitchen, and I'm super pleased with how it turned out and super pleased with the work that Marco did, and hopefully we'll have many more of these coming up in our future. So we are wrapping up here and heading over to another client's house to check on the paint that is now going up on the walls. If you've been following along with us, the last video we posted, I was trying to convince her to go with the super white paint. She did not go for that, but she went with one that's a really, really light gray, so I think it'll be just fine. And we're gonna go see how that is looking. So I am going to introduce you guys to one of the contractors I work with. This is Marco.
Hello, nice to meet you, Marco. At NK Construction, Marco Villagran.
Villagran. I never remember how to pronounce your last name. So I met Marco, gosh, about 2 months ago now. He was working on a house in my neighborhood, and I was trying to do a staging job for the guy who was trying to sell that house. And Marco came into that project and rescued it from ruin. And I knew I wanted him on my team. So I accosted him. And since then he's done some projects for me. And he's going to be working on this house with us, doing some electrical and painting and some sprucing up. So you want to tell them a little bit about what you do?
I've been doing this for about 10 years now on my own. I do all home remodels, improvements. I like to stick to high-end stuff, all quality work, from kitchens, baths, exteriors, and all. But I do specialize in interiors. Working with Lyndsey now and making her visions come to life.
So we just stopped by to check on the painting, which is getting slapped up on the walls right now, and I am loving it so far. It's a super, super light gray. It's actually a gray we have in our house. What's it called? Campfire Ash by Bear. It's very nice. It'll be good. I like it.